tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Keven Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello, AfterBuzz TV fans and fans of Bar Rescue. Keven Undergaro here with a special AfterBuzz TV Bar Rescue Back to the Bar episode. I'm joined by Stephen Lemieux, who thought it'd be fun to drum on the table.
Mics won't pick it up at all.
Yeah, no. By the way, I almost wasn't gonna do. I don't think I've ever done a Back to the Bar before for an after show, and then. The fact, I got a text from John Taffer last night saying, "Did you watch?" And I said, "Oh," I said, "Well, I'm gonna watch," but I knew he was excited. And then when I saw it, I was like, "Oh boy, no, we have to talk about this." I mean, just even from a production standpoint, they pulled out so many bells and whistles, and
I love the live aspect.
Yeah, right. Like
that was great, and having the voiceover guy. He makes over 300. Like having him actually be there live was great.
PJ, right?
No, PJ's
PJ King.
No,
yeah,
it was PJ.
PJ King. I mean, like it was surreal.
It was pretty cool.
Like his voice doesn't match that.
No.
I give I tell you, I give so much credit to the producers of the show, the people doing the actual the dirty work and the scripting and whatnot, because you brought PJ in to be your Ed McMahon, and you had it was amazing to see Lisa Marie and Phil Wills behind the bar, so that was great set dressing. We brought back All In.
Oh my God.
To be the DJ. We brought back the other guy from that wanted to be a rocker, and
then we had Brandy.
Got his bar. He sold his bar. Remember, to be able to pursue his dream to rock and roll. And then Brandy Beavers from the Laugh Factory. Although she wasn't really there doing much. I'm talking about actually for the production of the show.
Okay.
They brought back old friends and they put them into the show. So we had All In doing the DJing. We have PJ being Ed McMahon. We had the other guy kind of become a barbecue expert, and then eventually he's our kind of house band. And the biggest thing that I noticed was one of the biggest notes I had for John was that he really pulled it off.
Yeah. As
a host. I mean, we see him as an expert. We see him as a great TV personality, but he hosted a talk show.
Well, because when you look at me and Phil covered the last Back to the Bar, and when you look at the Back to the Bar, it's very like edited together. It's very okay, John, say your line, and then we'll put it in with this clip and things like that. And I think that's probably
usually we call it a clip show.
Yeah, basically. And I think that was probably the biggest complaint they had with them. And bringing this aspect made it fun, made it engaging, and kind of had a similarity like a reunion show for like a TV show.
Lit well, and it cost them some money to fly some of those people in, but at the same time, much better than John just standing there and reading a teleprompter and doing the intros and the outros of the clips.
It really, some of it felt very emotional, like almost like Dr. Phil. We had Dr. John in here.
You had all of those elements, and it's funny you say that. I was like, wow, John's giving us a little bit of Dr. Phil, a little bit of Johnny Carson. I mean, or I'm dating myself, a little bit of Jimmy Fallon. I mean, he's giving you.
And then we get the Jerry Springer at the end.
And you got Jerry Springer. So it was I'm just always in awe of John's talent because and I'll tell you, just to give you some perspective, when Donald Trump hosts the finale of The Apprentice, he's behind the desk, and I'm a big Trump fan, TV fan of his. I mean, I love his work, and actually I've met him, and he's great to me all the time. So I really do like him, but he's stiff when he has to host live. When he's doing his thing, when he's being Trump, when he's being the boss on The Apprentice, he's fine. That's John renovating a bar. They're in their comfort zone. But to now come out and be a showman, that's a different piece. I mean, there's a reason why the hosts get paid what they do.
And there's a whole other aspect when you have a live audience too.
And that too, right? I mean, it's one thing to host a show and not have a live audience, but and he did it. He was just masterful. I mean, I could not believe how amazing he was in that role. I mean, because this is a whole other set of skills that people are trained for years. Either stand-up comics for a long time, or they're communications major. I mean, it's not John at all.
Well, I think it's just, you always tell us to put eggs in all sorts of baskets. I think John does the Vegas seminars. He does all these things where he's teaching large groups of people. And that combined with the renovations, that combined with him having these one-on-one, really emotional...
Yeah, every show now we notice has a sit-down.
Yeah.
So we have that moment.
And I think he's just combined it.
It all came together. But again, to your point, to do all that in front of a live audience and then have senses of timing and things like that, it's hard. So I loved that part of it. And it was at the end that I got very, very upset. And we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
That made me upset and made me say, that this... Well, if it's going to be done, then I'm going to tell these guys exactly how to do it. Having been with Maria, Menounos, my girlfriend, for so many years, and her doing the reunion shows at MTV for the challenge and for Real World, there's a way to do it that you have to do it. And they didn't do it here. So, but anyway, we'll get to it. We loved it. And again, shout out to Lisa Marie and Phil Wills. I was so excited to see them. It was so great. It was like, and by the way, when we talk about every week, they have so much talent on this show between the experts and influencers and the characters we've dealt with over the years. There's a lot to tap into. And it was just smart all around to have done it, with the exception of the end. Let's start with Scott. Should we start with well, I guess we'll go in order. We'll start with the Firehouse, right?
Yeah. The three brothers.
The three brothers. Typical Irish.
Yeah,
blue collar Irish guys, love their drinks, love to fight.
I think it's just the main difference you see here is before any fight, anything they had, they just hold it over each other's heads and they'd have a grudge all the time. And now they just fight and then it's done. But the one brother's doing a really good job of like calming everyone down. And unfortunately, it's just the two brothers at this point right now.
Yeah, and I know the jury's out, but I don't think the jury's out on that bar. They're making money. The bar looks great. I think
they're slowly paying their debt back. It's not an easy thing to pay $400,000 back.
So I would say it was a successful renovation. One of the takeaways of the many ones was to be reminded about how amazing that renovation was. The front of a fire truck.
Yeah.
And all the cool things, and and then bring back, is it the brothers, the
mom,
the two Britty brothers from from the Katrina renovation that John did. And John, it's funny with the New Orleans guys and the Katrina, that renovation Katrina. John, I feel like he's had the most deep bonds with them. Well,
because he just brought a family completely back together, and I don't think you can put a price tag on that, and you can't really put a.
I'm not talking about the firemen. I'm talking about the two Britty brothers were the brothers who had the bar in New Jersey that got crushed at Katrina, and John went and renovated that.
Oh, that one, yeah.
And they always remember John, and they still keep in touch with him, and that's why when he called them and said, "Come in,"
Well, they pop up a lot.
And when they came in, it was like two peas in a pod. They were totally talking. You could tell when they were drinking together, they were totally talking each other's language.
And they did the ghost chili pepper challenge.
One guy made it.
That sandwich looked pretty delicious, honestly. I'd do it. If we go out there, we got to do it, Kev.
I would do it. I mean, but I saw some people tap out too.
Yeah, but I need that shirt. Even if it doesn't fit, I need that shirt.
But it was it made you think they must not be having to give away a lot of those, if that's the only shirt they have in there.
Yeah.
So nobody's losing that challenge. But it reminded me, seeing how well the Firehouse was done, it reminded me of how many renovations we've seen and how they're also amazing, but there have been so many of them, 100 deep, that I forget. I remember some of the characters, but I forget the depth of the renovation. And just when every week I say, this is my favorite renovation, it's like ridiculous to say that because I think of all the other ones he's done.
Well, when we have All In guy, that was the butt funnel.
All In.
We had the butt funnel in that bar.
All In. And by the way, on a side note, what'd you think of All In's new look?
It was the same, wasn't it?
No, it was like before when we saw him, he had, kind of a conservative haircut, the black blazer. He was trying to look like a bar guy, and now we had the horn rim glasses, the backwards hat. No.
He just looked like a normal DJ to me.
Well, he's a guy in his 40s, and he's doing that whole now. I'll look like a young guy look and whatever, but he looked like a different guy. It was because when he did "Are We All In," I thought he was just joking. I thought he was making a reference to that episode. I didn't realize that he was the guy.
No, as soon as I saw the shirt, because he sent us those shirts, and we had those All In shirts, and I gave one to my brother because my brother's such a huge Bar Rescue fan. But yeah, that's one of the most memorable episodes. I love the butt funnel.
And by the way, I give him credit too because just embraced it, and he did a great job. It was fun. It was, great hit for him.
Well, it's also they do the back to the bar within that. They don't really have to cut away. They literally just, how's the bar doing? Closed down. Oh, so you're doing DJ? Hell yeah. It's okay.
Yeah, and by the way, we got to know things. It was like he kind of was they kind of threw him in the front because they knew he would be such great entertainment, but he really wasn't. He
wasn't like a worker.
Well, no, I don't think he was totally at fault.
Yeah.
I remember reading the Facebook and all, doing the due diligence, and he wasn't 100% at fault with it, but needs to say, very entertaining. Well, so I mean, for me, I love the Firehouse bar. I think it was a total success. I think those guys are always going to be, they're always going to go at each other, in the way they do, and even be reminded of John getting in that guy's face. Remember the fight that him and one of the brothers had?
Yeah, it was pretty intense.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why they need security on the show and how they finally have it.
Well, they
now.
do have it, thank God. But I don't know. I don't know how John does it. I don't know how he does it in that he does the fixes that short time. I also don't know how he withstands his heart and his health withstands having a fight. By the way, we at AfterBuzz we do these one-on-one. I do these one-on-one career sessions every year, and we have over 250 hosts. So there's many meetings, and in that hour I have to figure out a business plan for each individual host, and some of them are great. They just take notes and say, okay, great, I'm gonna do it. And then others just sit and just argue and tell you why this won't work and why that won't work. And I don't know. And it's a drain on me for that hour. I don't know how John is able to do it for 4 straight days with and to deal with bar owners who, I think it's better than 50% of them are addicted or there's problems with alcohol. So now you're dealing with a whole other beast of people who aren't going to listen to you.
Well, I mean, speaking of like addiction, we move on to the next bar.
Yeah, it's a good transition to what was it called? I'm looking at it now. It's Donna and I know it's Donna and Scott. Oh, Chillin's.
Oh, Chillin's, yeah.
It's funny, Dorinda, who's one of our hosts, who hasn't hosted for us this season. This episode always makes her cry, and she's like so defensive of John just based on this episode because this was a family in so much turmoil that he turned around.
I mean, it was just scary to watch. Well, because I remember watching the episode, and it's like the first episode where you really see people suffering from intense alcohol withdrawal, like with the shakers, like barely even being able to like Parkinson's level shakes from just alcohol withdrawal. And I'm so glad that he's out of the bar because my knee jerk, having been around alcoholics and known enough about what goes into curing it. Oh, not excuse me. There's no cure. Treating it. I knew there could be no way that he'd be able to work at that bar. That takes years. For most people, it takes years of being able to dry out and go to therapy and then to be able to come back into that environment. There's just too many triggers. Just being surrounded by what you're addicted to.
So I was so relieved to find out he's no longer there.
The daughter seems to be doing pretty well, though.
And, well, the daughter always well, but let's back up the mother and the father. Just the father with less alcohol not being in the bar and the mother with no alcohol, she looked 10 years younger.
Yeah, she looked a lot younger. There does raise a question, though, with this. Do you think it's messed up to send people to try to convince somebody who's previously an alcoholic to drink? Like, do you think a test like that crosses the line?
Well, we don't know if she was an alcoholic.
Okay.
We just don't. We knew the husband was, but we didn't know if she was. She just might have been
Might
a
have
problem
been
drinker.
Okay.
Go along for the ride. Yeah, it's a tough call. I mean, I'm just happy that
she didn't take it.
Yeah, I'm just, in looking at her face, she just seemed very clear, very alert. It didn't seem like she was, drinking a lot. So hopefully she's not. We've seen with this amazing daughter who held that family together is now engaged and has a baby, which is great. And she's got the mom there to help raise it. So it's really nice job. And of course, the renovation on that one was
great.
Amazing. And I don't know if you saw, but on the the Podbuster, the commercial that usually the Bar Rescue commercial that will come up in the middle of the commercials, they talked about how they invented a pourer for a moonshine jar. So you know how the bar bottles will have pourers, so they can pour. Well, they created one for a moonshine jar, so they can pour out of it. So when they get moonshine in the jar,
they just twist it on and
they put a pourer on. Yeah,
nice.
So which is kind of fun. But I forgot about the the raccoon. Did you see some of the with the top 5 critters?
Top 5 critters, the raccoon. We had the rats in the hookah lounge, which we saw on last Back to the Bar.
Right.
Got turned back into a hookah lounge.
We saw all the cockroaches and bugs.
Yeah.
So insane.
And then the horse in a bar.
And the horse in a bar,
horse
which is Chillin's. And I felt bad, the poor horse slipping in,
Yeah, it looks terrified.
Yeah, terrified. Just like them thinking, well, this will be a fun little bar prank. We'll all oh, and then and Donna being like, we want to make a correction. He did the horse didn't poop in the bar. He had poop on his foot and brought it in. Oh, okay. So
that's better though. Yeah, that's totally better.
Okay, so let's get to well, I mean, probably time to get to the Howard, yeah,
and the Laugh Factory.
Weird. Okay, this was a weird part before we get there. This is a weird part. I think they kind of forced in is every show has takeaway and information. They did this little left turn about smoke, and liquid smoke is available for meats
and like what it is and how it affects you negatively and has carcinogens.
I felt like it wasn't necessary for the show.
Yeah, I mean it was kind of out of the way, but I feel like they just wanted to. The show contained all aspects of a Bar Rescue episode, and I think they just wanted to have that one aspect too.
I don't think it worked on this.
No,
because he's live. It's festive. It's live. By the way, they went totally new and rogue, so it's not going to be perfect. I'm sure if they do another one, but no, I don't think that resonated. Just didn't feel the show. We weren't tuning in for that. We were tuning in to go back to the bar and checking with these knuckleheads and these characters. And it was so funny to see the musician. I think I wrote down Keven Bledsoe, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Something Bledsoe.
No, maybe not. Maybe that's not. Oh, yeah, it is him. Yeah, he has the band, and he was the one who sold the bar so he could be a rock and roller.
Came back, tried some delicious.
Sat there like a king with the barbecue, had eyeliner, and then he had the mustache, and he went no more blonde. Whole new look for him.
When he was like, if I was straight, I'd marry you.
Yeah.
Like, all right, there you go. Must be good barbecue then.
Again,
but we get the chef from who always, whenever it's barbecue or something,
he's amazing.
They bring him in. He's like
a
so
rock
good.
Star. And again, I loved all of that. I just thought it was fun. But the part to me that ruined the show, it did ruin it because it was the guy Howard. I don't know how
What I hate about this, and it's just annoying to me, is a lot of people watch Bar Rescue and a lot of people think that it's produced and they think that it's not real in some aspects. No. And I know that it's real. I know that as much as there is some production, it's not any of the story elements and not the people.
I'm there for two shows, 2 episodes I've done. I saw it myself.
So when people have that in the back of their mind just a little bit, having some asshole come on the show and start saying that John's a fraud, saying this, it makes him look crazy, but it also just reinforces it in the people who don't know any better.
I
don't like that.
Yeah, I don't either. And
because John doesn't deserve that.
no, he doesn't. And the people on the show work so hard, the producers and whatnot. But here's where I'm down on not the day-to-day producers, but the bosses over at 3Ball. That guy had threatened John before and physically threatened him. And you saw he came on that show and he was like, I'm going to create an amazing TV moment to build my career. And I'm willing to do it at John's expense. And I'll take you back to when we used to do, if you're going to do this back to the bar again and you're going to have these people on, there's a way to do it. So when Marie used to do the Challenge reunion show and the MTV Real World reunion shows, there was always hostility, and they would want to tap into it for the reunion show. They'd want it. That was what drove the whole show. It was like, oh my God, this guy's fighting with that girl, and now we're going to see them go head to head. Months later, the Challenge was the worst, because all they would do on the Challenge is they'd stick them in this one location out in the middle of nowhere. They would give them all the cheap alcohol they'd want, and they'd be cooped up, and it literally would make them snap like something bad. That's why the show's so amazing. Plus, they're competing with each other. Then it's people are cheating and cutting corners, and just all sorts of crazy things happen. So it's very volatile. And there was someone there that not only was going to make this hour about going after whoever their nemesis was, they were also going to go after Maria. It was like, I'm not, I forget what it was. It was like, your bitch ain't going to tell me this, that, and the other thing, blah, blah, blah. So, when the show unfolds, they have topics they're going to hit. Mm-hmm. It's not like Maria's just free-form talking. She has different topics. So when the topic of this guy came up, I was like, okay, I'm going to be ready. So, I put down my, my phone, whatever, and walked right up to set. The closest I could get to set without being on camera. Now, it didn't matter that I was going to, I don't know whether this guy could beat me up or whatever. It didn't matter. He just wasn't going to beat up Maria. That was not going to happen. He could beat me up, but he was not going to. That I know I could do. I could stop him from getting to her. So I went up to, as I'm starting to go up to the set, Stephen, quietly, like out of nowhere, 4 security guards, black blazers, black shirts, all surround the outskirts of the stage. And I'm like, oh. And MTV clearly has done this before. Mm. And they knew the right time. All the guys, just who were way bigger than me, arms folded, quietly, not making a big deal out of it. They were all right there. Everyone was waiting to pounce. And, and I don't know if the kid saw it or what, but boy, he didn't get out of his chair. He did a lot of mouthing, a lot of jarring, a lot of finger pointing. He did not get out of that chair. And there's a way to do it. And I don't ever want to see John that close to a guy like that again. Like, the guy was a dick, and I'm sure he's going to hear me now saying it. And you're a Marine. And by the way, John loves the military. I love the military. Like, once you heard the guy was a Marine, I was rooting for him. And then John was even still trying to say to him, I know you're a Marine. I know you do a lot for us. And he just wasn't having it. To me, he seems like a lot of people in comedy, which sadly, the contradiction of comedy in the comedy world is so many of them come from such a dark place.
Yeah.
But then there's the narcissism of, I have to have the spotlight, which is also what drives people, not just in stand-up comedy, but in all forms of entertainment. And you mix all those things, and it's a bad recipe for an individual. It's not maybe someone you really want to be around or be friends with. And then he probably didn't have a lot of talent, so then it just makes it all the worse.
I think it's just sad because he can't admit that he's wrong. But then you look at John.
Yeah, but I don't know if he believes he's wrong, which makes me even more upset.
But I'm just saying, you look at John, and if they went back to the bar, even with this guy sitting across from John yelling at him.
No, but see, Steven, you're getting sucked in. You're going down the rabbit hole. You don't even give this guy 5 minutes. That's all he wanted, was to go on that show and make a bigger name for himself so he can profit further.
Yeah.
Right? So it wasn't enough that John did a $500,000 renovation for him. It wasn't enough that he married his brand to an internationally known brand. It wasn't enough. All that stuff. So now he's going to be able to come on this show, have his moment, and he was doing everything he could to be the one to hit John in the face. And John handled it masterfully. But again, do we really want, someone at John's age in
being
that
provoked.
position? Do you really want that? Do we need that? It's enough that the guy does 100 amazing episodes, renovations, feuds, probably will do another 50, maybe even another 100. Who knows? Because the show is that successful. Do we really need him next to some clown who wants to make a name for himself that could hit him and do damage? No, you don't need that. Or even just scare John. Even just scare him. Not healthy for John. Not healthy. So, you know what? If you're going to do it, you got to do it right. You have to do it. They probably have one security guard there, maybe two. No, screw that. You've got to have 3 or 4. You're ready to go. And you know what? And you keep that guy. There's a way to build a distance between them. And the minute he gets up, the minute that motherfucker gets out of his seat, right in his face. By the way, Springer, all the time. As soon as the person stands, they're right up there. You do not ever let it get that. And that really bothered me because no John, no Bar Rescue. I don't care what you guys say. I don't care if you think you're going to go find some other expert and it's the Bar Rescue franchise that wins, or the show's produced so amazing, and it is produced amazing, guys. But at the end of the day, it's John who drives that show. And all we did was give this other idiot who, by the way, he invited everyone to come have you on Facebook. So just so you know, if you're so great, Mr. Howard, Mr. Hughes, 30 people responded to go to his event, to his invite. So, but now he's going to start a podcast, and which is smart. That's what he should do. But that's what I'm saying. He's not stupid. Where you're saying you're going down the rabbit hole, Stephen. Oh, he's dumb. He got this big renovation. No, he's not. Every smart comedian right now, literally every smart stand-up comic has a podcast. The smartest thing this guy could do is to start a podcast based on what happened last night. Just a few weeks ago, the girl from the strip bar, Renee.
Yeah.
She was saying she was getting something like 20 to 40 Facebook friends every hour since the thing aired. That's the power of Bar Rescue. So with this guy, the smartest thing he can do is do a podcast and rant and rave or whatever. My advice to Bar Rescue is to not bite into it. Get me the lady from Pirates, and I'll tell you why. Because at least she's harmless. She did believe it. This guy, I don't know if he believes it. He's just a dick. Yeah. And it bothered me that we gave him airtime. But fine, I do like to be entertained. But he knew too much of what he was doing. He knew how to use that platform, and he was being as much of a performer as anyone on that. And that really bothered me. And what super bothered me is how dare they let him get that close to John. And by the way, okay, if John's the same age as him, I still would say no, because talent is precious. You have to protect talent. But it's not. It's just, I don't know. Just every nerve in my body just reacted, and I remember writing John saying to him, it was amazing. You crushed it. You clearly have proven that you can even host a talk show, which is amazing. But I really wish I was there, because I know I would have managed it. He wouldn't have gotten near him, So. That's my 2 cents. I mean, I'm sorry. It was very entertaining to see him, but he went there with a purpose, and the purpose wasn't to tell off John. The end purpose was to, how do I get as much attention on myself, because desperately that's what I need. And it's sad that he's a Marine, and because he's not acting very Marine-like, because all the Marines I know, like Courtney's husband, are like salt of the earth. That's why they say, even when they're military, they go, no, I'm not just military, I'm Marine. Yeah. It's different. But his behavior, I'm sorry, that is contradictory to what I've seen from the Marines I've known. So, Jonathan, I'm sorry, I went on a rant in the booth now. It was great because Jonathan, who's engineering, has 13 years in the restaurant business, and I've been making him watch some bar rescues. So, Jonathan, was any of this did any of this resonate with you?
I mean, it did. A lot of what you guys are saying, I pretty much agree with. I mean, unfortunately, there's some bad potatoes for Marines, and they try and use that platform in an unfortunate way. Because, like you said, pretty much any Marine I know is a good Marine.
It's part of that whole. Most of the bad, they beat it out of you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
it's just Anyway, I've never seen one like this, to be honest. Yes, I've seen them be conservative. I've seen them be maybe too strict. But there's always been things that are redeeming, and I didn't see it here.
No.
Anyway, so I don't know. So whatever. Like, we're probably gonna get criticized for this, but that's what I stand by what I said. Hoping that in the weeks to come, Mia will be back. I know she's been on the road, and the lovely Lisa Marie Joyce will be back as well.
Gotta
love to see Phil Wills if we can. But yeah, and I'm glad we did it back to the bar, and I look forward to the next one. But I promise you, I'm gonna be there at the next one, unless John's afraid to have me there. But no, I'll be there. There's a way to do it. And again, MTV had it mastered because they've only done like 15 or 20 or 40 of those crazy reunion shows. There's just a way to do it. So, and that was not the way. Steven, where do we find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Stephen Lemieux, or check out any of our movie discussion shows on the Popcorn Talk Network at the Popcorn Talk, www.popcorntalk.com.
At Undergaro from me, and wish you guys a happy holiday, happy holidays, plural. And then hopefully next week we're back to some new episodes, yes or no?
I'm not sure.
I wonder. Okay, well, if so, we'll be here. All right, you guys, thanks so much.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.